Sandan Yogis and Yoginis, hello and welcome back. And yes, Infinite Stories was just letting me know about the time change. And yes, so she's telling me, or he's telling me, I'm not sure. You figured it out that it was when I didn't show up at 4:30. Yes, and a new hero, go by Ribbon Waters. Infinite Stories is one of my YouTube channels. I'm from Maine and really enjoy your channel. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the support and for letting me know. I really, I didn't think about that. I have to take it into consideration for the future streams. And yes, so thank you for being here. Today we're going to talk about competition or collaboration. I'm going to have, as usual, an approach from a Western approach and an Eastern approach. I'm going to take a look at what some research has been done on the subject. I'm not very much, I'm not an expert on the topic, but it's something that this morning I felt I would like to talk about. And I did a little bit of research on this many years ago, and I wanted to explore it today again with you. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about research on some game theory, and what does it mean for us as yogis as well, and how can we approach the future, this future that is coming to us, and it is so uncertain in this world where we see wars and we see conflicts between countries and between people. And so initially when I was doing the video on AI, and I mentioned, if an AI is intelligent enough, it will realize that it's better to share and to collaborate. And I think, in the long term, that's always better. But then I was thinking, well, is it really? Or is competition also important? And maybe I should research that. So that was what triggered this conversation for today. So let me talk about the prisoner's dilemma. Why would I talk about this prisoner's dilemma? It's a kind of philosophical dilemma, but it's some part of game theory. Now, game theory, I love game theory. I find it fascinating. This is something that I studied now 30 years ago. Imagine, when I was in university studying computer science, at the final year I had to do a project, and I chose to do a research project in Northern Ireland, actually. And so I was given this idea to work on prisoner's dilemma, which I wasn't familiar with. And it's game theory is like you make a game, and out of what comes out of this game, you realize how some things operate in real life in the world. And so this particular game shows how people choose to collaborate or to not collaborate. So it's a great model to understand human behavior and how to get the most out of any situation. So let me talk a little bit about that one. And these concepts of game theory, in particular this prisoner's dilemma, it started in 1950s, I think it is, when the RAND Corporation was created. RAND, you may have heard about it, is the research and development organization that came out as a result of the ending of the Second World War. And in US, they created this, I think it was like a think tank with many very intelligent people in different fields, from economics and mathematics and scientists and engineers and other fields as well. And out of there, there would come a lot of principles that would later become the basis for computers and the basis for political sciences and other issues. And it would evolve a lot, yeah. But at that time, it was the beginnings of computing, and because I studied computer science, I was interested about that, how computers started. So this, in the 1950s, that's in this think tank, they created this idea of game theory to study the world. So let's go. Prisoner's dilemma. My camera is working again. These issues that I've been having in the last videos, hopefully they will be resolved, even though I hear that it's something quite common, that it often happens, that the camera may get blocked and then the computer take control of the camera in a different way. So the topic for today is competition and collaboration or cooperation. And we're going to explore this with prisoner's dilemma. The idea in this prisoner's dilemma is that you have two thieves. You apprehended two thieves. You are the police, right? And you want to bring them to prison, but you don't have like all the proofs to demonstrate that they are the ones who did it. So you have some basic proofs, but not 100%. So you need them to confess, basically. So you offer them a possibility. You say, well, if you testify against your partner in crime, then you will go free. But if you don't testify, then you're going to go to jail. But there is a number of possibilities. So we have the A and B. These are the two prisoners. These are the two people who have been the two robbers, the two thieves, let's say, and they offer a deal. Yeah. Now B can stay silent, or B can confess. And when he confesses, it's telling us that, A was with me, and he's as guilty as me, so don't put me in a jail so A can go to jail, okay? So this is the deal that he's looking for. And A has the same deal. They are isolated, and they are asked to do the same, betray your partner in crime, defect, and then you will get a reward for that. So A can stay silent, or A can testify. It's very simple game, yeah? Now, if they both stay silent and nobody says anything, again, we don't have like the whole proof to prove that you committed the main crime, but we have some minor one, so we can put you in jail anyway for some minor crime. So both A and B, let's write A and B everywhere. So if both stay silent and you cooperate with each other, you are honorable, and how do you say that? Yeah, cooperate, yeah? Then I'm going to put you in jail for a minor crime, maybe just 1 year, yeah? 1 year. 1 year in prison, okay? And now, if they are telling B, look, B, if you confess that they did it, they are going to go and get the full sentence. 3 years. And you're going to go free. So it's good for you to do it, yeah? And the same they say to A, look, A, if you talk about B and you confess that they did it, you go free, and B goes to jail for 3 years. But now, what happens if they both testify, they both betray each other? What happens is that both of them end up in jail for 2 years. Okay, they split the sentence. All right, so if they are friends and they have been working with each other for a long time and they know each other and they are possibly going to continue relating to each other, it is most beneficial for both thieves to not betray the other, because that's the best outcome for both of them. If they both stay silent and nobody says nothing, then they only get 1 year of minor prison. Now, if they both betray each other, then they both get 2 years, right? So this is a good example of how it's a model to experiment how two people may cooperate or may defect, may betray the other one, right? So, okay, that was the model. That was the model from game theory, and it's called Prisoner's Dilemma. You can look it up. And now that created a lot of research out of that. I did my final year project as a review of this game theoretical model, and a lot of research that have been done with computers modeling human interactions according to this model. Now, the results are very interesting. When we have two agents or two people who are going to interact with each other only one time, so this is the only time that you're going to meet this person, and you have to choose whether you're going to cooperate or you're going to betray the other one, let's say the best possible thing that you can do for yourself is to betray the other one. Why? Because if you don't betray and you stay silent, but you don't know this other person, this is the first time that you're interacting with them, right? If you stay silent and the other one says, no, he did it, you're going to end up 3 years in jail. That's the worst possible outcome. Yeah. So we don't want to be here. We want to avoid this. This is the worst. This is the worst outcome for A. Yeah. And this is what's the best? This is the best outcome for A. Let me put it with a different color. The best possible outcome for A. So if you are A, you want to avoid this one and you want to lean towards this one. So the best decision you can do is to testify. And maybe you are both testifying, therefore you are going to end up 2 years in jail, but at least you avoid the worst and you have a possibility, a chance for the best. So when you are interacting only one time, the best action is actually to not cooperate. Interesting, huh? Now, when you are, when it's called iterative prisoner's dilemma or iterative game, yeah. When it's an iterative game that you have to interact many times, then things change, because then if you know what kind of character the other one has, you can choose to collaborate, because if we both do it, then we both get the best outcome. And so there was a time when they were doing research on this, and you could create a computer program with an algorithm, and you would and your little agent, your little AI, would go to compete with other AIs in an iterative game of prisoner's dilemma, so that they would be playing prisoner's dilemma many times and see who wins. It wins the one who spends less years in prison, let's say, right? So when you would do that, and everybody would code their own algorithm to see who was the best. And after a few tournaments of this, I'm talking real tournaments that happened like this, and from the simulations they obtained some of the best possible algorithms that could get the best outcome. Now, they were more or less based on what is called tit for tat. Mostly, this is one of the algorithms that would result in the best outcome. Tit for tat. Sometimes you will see it abbreviated like TFT. Yeah. And tit for tat means I'm going to start collaborating. The very first action that you do with somebody, I'm going to meet you, Raul, right? Raul, I don't know you, but I'm going to assume you're a good person. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to collaborate with you. And let's see what happens. Now, if you are collaborating with me, then I will continue collaborating with you. Tit for tat. You collaborate, I collaborate. You collaborate, I collaborate. Every time you collaborate, I'm going to collaborate. Now, if you, at some point, defect, if you at some point betray me, then I'm going to betray you. And then if you collaborate again, then I'm going to collaborate again. So you are doing basically what the other one did in the last time, which is basically kind of like saying, whatever you did to me, I'm going to repeat it to you. No? It's like karma in a way. You hit me, I hit you. You give me a kiss, I'm going to give you a kiss. It's a little bit like karma. So it's very interesting that would become one of the most effective strategies on how to deal with this kind of problem. There was another system that was also popular, and is popular in some kind of political context. Remember, this is game theory, but this applies to the real world, which is I collaborate, but then the moment that you stop collaborating with me, from that moment onwards, I will betray and I will not collaborate. I will just not collaborate at all even if you come back to collaborating with me, I will just not collaborate again. So I will just stop it. Yeah. So this is what is called a system with zero forgiveness, with no forgiveness. So whatever the other one has done, you will not forgive, which is a topic that is interesting for this week's video. When I was doing this video this week on the mind games, which by the way got cut in the middle, and I will continue next week. But we were talking about the two main mind games is guilt and victim, linked to a judgment, judgment towards myself or towards others, and then we need to forgive, the need for forgiveness. So very interesting that this appears in game theory. So tit for tat means, look, you betray me, I'm not gonna be the sucker. I'm gonna betray you next time. But then if next time you help me and you collaborate with me, I will forgive and I will collaborate with you, right? So very interesting combination of collaboration and at the same time punishment. So this tit for tat, okay, let's a comment from Infinite Stories. Doesn't one become the leader and one the follower? And is this important? With the tit for tat itself, no, but it may happen that one is doing 1 and the other one is doing 0. The other one then becomes 0, then this one becomes 1, then this one becomes 1, then this one 0. So if you put one tit for tat with another tit for tat, and then one starts, if there is a 0, if there is a no collaboration at some point, then the whole system is a mess, because it's one trying to lead and the other one trying to lead at the same time, and it doesn't work. So in this system, there is no particular leader. This is a system of two basic agents with similar rights, and both have to take the first step. And if you look at it that way, let's say you lead your actions with your first step. And if the first step of both is to collaborate, maybe you collaborate all the way till the end, and then you are both benefiting from every interaction, yeah? Apart from that, we could think of different strategies which would include some sort of leadership. Like, for example, let's say we have entered into a loop of defection, a loop of betraying each other for some reason. So we are betrayal. One could choose to be the leader and say, well, let's try to collaborate for once. Let's see if the other one changes from the state where they are on. So at some event, at some point, you decide to lead by example and say, well, I know we haven't collaborated for a long time, but let us try to collaborate once. So you collaborate and then observe. And maybe the other one comes out of that state where they were, totally blocked into their whatever situation had arisen and they were defecting. And maybe they come out into collaborating again. And yes, you were the leader in that situation, yeah? So yes, you can think of strategies which incorporate the concept of leadership. Yeah, that's a good idea. And actually, you have to think about this when we are exporting this example to the real world. And when we look at a conflict between two countries or two people, conflicts have histories, sometimes very complex histories. And so sometimes it's like, I'm not gonna give the first step if you don't give it, right? And then somebody has to be the leader in giving the first step towards maybe some collaboration. And if this will depend also a lot on the reputation. Okay, what this system creates and what this kind of iterative game with the tit for tat and all that creates is that the concept of reputation arises. The reputation that you have, if I know that you are a person that is always trying to take advantage of others by betraying them, then my first impression of you is going to be, I'm not going to collaborate with you. Because if I collaborate, then this is my worst possible outcome, right? If I stay silent, then I'm going to be in my worst possible outcome. So reputation tells you whether you are willing to collaborate with someone or not. But then again, everybody can learn, everybody can grow, everybody can make mistakes. So even if you have a reputation for having done mistakes, am I willing to be the leader, to lead into giving the possibility for some finding some agreement, finding some mutual agreement. So you could lead and try to cooperate and see what they do. Do they change their behavior? Do they now cooperate? Okay, let's now enter into a new relationship. Yeah. So this is where leadership would come. Okay. So if we look at whether it's better to collaborate or to compete, it's difficult to tell. Like depending on whether it's iterative or not, and whether what is the reputation of the other one, and how is this going to be happening in a long time. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, let's take a look at how this plays out in humans and animals. Thanks. It makes sense. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Please do. Speak. Yeah, write in the chat. Yeah, tell me how you are feeling about this. This is helping to the video. Yeah, if you tell me how you are thinking about it, then I can also reflect upon it. I haven't reached like a final conclusion. I'm kind of philosophizing as I'm going along. So I looked into the theory 30 years ago. Now today I'm revisiting it after many years of not thinking about this. So it helps if there is somebody there to also confront me as well, yeah? So this morning I was thinking, okay, let's look at evolutionary biology. Because this is the thing that was stuck with me after I made the video on AI. I said, well, it's always better to collaborate. And then I thought, not really. Because if you look at evolutionary biology, natural selection is based on the competition. On competition of who has the best genes to survive, right? So evolution of the species is created in a way that the one who is more able to survive, to procreate and survive, those genes are going to pass along to the next generation. And that's competition, isn't it? So it got me wrong, thinking, maybe competition has a number of advantages. It's going to lead towards the evolution of the species. But then hold on, right? Hold on. Let's take the other side of the coin. If competition being ingrained in natural selection was the only factor into the survival of the species, that would mean that all species would just compete. And then we would find no cooperation. And that's simply not true. You look at any family of animals, right? And there's a lot of collaboration and cooperation, and even outside the family. And then I remembered another paper that I read, again, 30 years ago. So please don't quote me on this. You can do your own research and search for it. But I remember reading a research paper on altruism in vampire bats. I think it was a famous paper talking about the behavior of vampire bats, not even within the family, but just in the communities where they live. And let me before I recall that, let me read the chat. Oliver says, I think I studied this in economics, but never thought of applying it in a more personal way like this. Very interesting. Yes, great. Help me, Oliver, then to explore how to apply this to humans. We live in a world filled with conflict. We can choose to continue that conflict perpetually, or we can maybe be the leaders, right, and find new ways to collaborate with people that maybe don't have the best reputation. And maybe, there is a way to both of us find a way forward. There is wars in this world that they are just exemplifying this very conflict that we have. And there's wars within us. And there's wars with our partners, within our families. And this collaborate or compete, I think it's essential. So we need to learn when is competing healthy, when is collaborating healthy, when is it not healthy, when is it karmic, and when is it dharmic from a yogic perspective. So this is my objective for today, to explore these concepts. So let me remember that paper. What he was saying is that some vampire bats, they drink the blood of animals. So they go out and they go look for an animal. Maybe they find a cow. They go to the cow, they eat the blood, they drink the blood, and they go back home. When they go home, in their colony, if they find some other bat who has also gone out but didn't find any blood, and they know this bat because they live in the same colony, even if it's not the same family, they will share the blood that they found with this other bat. That's altruism because, well, it's an altruism expecting a reward in the future. I mean, you are giving something now, which is a sacrifice to you and your family, because you're giving it even to somebody who is not from your family, but in the hopes or in the expectation that in the future, when you need it, some other bat will be more willing to, share their blood with you. And I found it fascinating also because I was fascinated with vampires, the whole history and mythology around vampires at that time. And I found it fascinating that something that we generally take as something evil, vampires, right? And this is vampire bats, they are actually displaying an attitude that is of the highest human quality, altruism. I mean, it's not purely 100% altruism, because I would say that pure altruism would be doing something for somebody and not expecting anything in return. While in this case, you do something for others, expecting that someday when you need it, somebody is going to do something in return for you. So it's not pure 100% altruism. And yet, there is collaboration, there is altruism, and this kind of altruistic behavior displays a collaboration. So we have natural selection is going to reinforce or like is going to give power to the impulse of competition within us, right? We need to compete to make sure our genes pass on to the next generation. And yet, we see societies of animals, like a colony of bats, where collaboration is the norm. So maybe it's not just about competition. Maybe natural selection is not just about competition. Maybe there are factors of collaboration that also help for the natural selection. And then that becomes quite obvious, yeah? As soon as you explore it a little bit more, it becomes quite obvious. But maybe we can spell it out. How about we do a list? Yeah, I like putting things down on paper. I think it brings clarity, and I think we need to honor. Because the thing is, when you come into yoga, there is an expectancy that you are going to be pushing for collaboration. That seems the most dharmic attitude, like we need to collaborate with each other. And there is a truth to that. But then what happens is also competition becomes, we start to see it like something toxic. And I'm not sure it is. And if we start seeing competition as something evil, then maybe we are not tapping into our own possibilities, because competition can help us reach our own potential. When we are competing with others or competing with ourselves, we get higher. It's like, when you go to a race and you're racing against others, it's pushing you to go to your limits and even expand your limits to places where you didn't know you could go. And so that aspect of competition can actually help you reach to a greater state or a certain level of growth that you didn't access without that wanting to compete, to be the number one. And number one is important, to reach the number one, to be the leader. We were talking about leader just now, like Infinite Stories was asking about the leadership. Well, there is great qualities in leadership, but leadership is the one who is the first, yeah? The first one who initiates things. And the first one is the leader of the competition, let's say. No, in a competition is the one who finishes first. So there is competitive qualities already ingrained within being a leader. So I think we should contemplate that. So let me see if we can identify. How can we do this? Let's do competition. And let's do collaboration or cooperation, yeah? Collaboration? Is it one or two L's? Collaboration. I feel like it's probably two L's. Okay. So, let's look. Advantages of competition. I probably should have researched this a little bit more before going into this video, but I'm going to just go a little bit on this. Oh, there's some comments I missed. Okay, let's see what he says. The battle in the Bhagavad Gita is a good example of divine competition. Oh yes, Oliver, indeed. And you know, the battle of Bhagavad Gita is talking about the fight within us. There is the good and the evil within us, and there is a fight between the two voices. So that's very much an internal battle, as much as external. And Infinite Story says, if you think in terms of plants, mycelium networks is similar. They either cooperate to survive or compete, and the strongest wins. So it must be natural in nature. Can you say more about the mycelium networks? I'm not familiar with that. Cooperate to survive or compete, and the strongest wins. That's good. I was just talking about animals, but if we can see it in plants, it would make sense because natural selection works all the way from plants. So please, if you can elaborate, tell us a little bit more about how these mycelium networks work. I would be interested. In the meantime, I will start going on this, and then please write. So competition, one of the things that help, let's say these are the advantages, yeah? In competition environments, I would say innovation. Yeah, the one who creates the best product is the one who is going to sell more of those products, yeah, and they're going to have more income to produce for research to create more new products. So innovation, yeah, something new, creating new things. In the forest, all roots mingle in the mycelium network. Okay. So the roots from different plants mingle, and do they share the water that they get? So am I understanding that you are saying they cooperate to survive or compete and the strongest wins? Okay. So some roots of some plants will strangle the others to get all of the moisture for themselves, and some other plants maybe will collaborate with others and share the moisture. Is that how it works? That's quite interesting. So an advantage of competition goes towards innovation, yeah, creating new things. That's something that is very much linked to the competitive aspect, not so much to the collaborative aspect. Yeah, to be the first one. Now I'm bringing more numbers into the conversation. You see, before I was a little bit reluctant to go into numbers, but now that we have started the Karankriya course, I'm going to bring more numbers. So bring the first one, the number one, competing to the number one, is innovation. Innovation is doing something new. Something new is something that starts. That's number one, the beginning of something. So you are starting new things. Efficiency also benefit over cost. Efficiency also benefits. Efficiency. Lower cost. Oh, I see. In the competition. Yeah, good. That's a good one. Thank you. So it's more efficient, yeah? If you are not efficient, you're not gonna, let's say in the competitive market, yeah, and you're producing whatever your product is. If you are not efficient, then your product is gonna die, because a good efficient product is gonna also have more appeal for others, and you're gonna have lower cost to produce it, and therefore there's gonna be more margin and more benefits. So you're gonna be even better in the competition. So good stuff. Excellent. More, please. If you have, please, let's do brainstorming here. The one that I did mention is the natural selection. So it's a natural and unnatural as well, yeah, an artificial way to promote selection of the best product. And the best, not only the best product, let's talk about ourselves, the best traits in ourselves, right? If we are in a competitive environment, which traits in ourselves, which qualities, which skills are gonna be, I'm gonna select, they're gonna be selective to help me to get to my highest self. Yeah. So we could say that there is also, if I can say, the dharmic, let's say these advantages bring me to the dharmic. The dharmic side of competition would be that we improve and we get to the highest expression of where we can get. Yeah. So I would say that that's quite dharmic. Yeah. Self-improvement. Well, that's when this competition is done with integrity. Yeah, I think integrity would have to be an ingredient here. Because if you just try to be efficient and just be the best, but without the integrity, taking advantage of others, then you're not going to be improving yourself in a dharmic way. Yeah, you're going to improve yourself, but maybe in your way to exploit others. So with integrity, this competition will take me towards self-improvement. What about personality types? For instance, a narcissist versus an introvert. Tell me, what are your thoughts about the personality types? How are they going to affect these two aspects? It's definitely going to have an effect. Narcissists want to compete and introverts don't. Yeah? But narcissists also not only want to compete. Wait a moment, because we can find narcissists and introverts in both sides. For example, narcissist loves to be the center of attention. And that means to be in a circle, in a group. And sometimes they will try to gather the attention of others by collaborating with them. So they will give the image of collaboration to become the center of attention within a group to then feed their own egos. So Oliver is responding, I think a narcissist always wants to betray, but it affects their reputation to their own detriment. Yeah, narcissist is concerned mainly with their well-being, their personal well-being, and them feeling good with themselves. So they don't care about betraying others if it's good for themselves, no? But maybe they want to do it in the shadow. They don't want it to be seen by others, because then their reputation would be affected, definitely. I mean, narcissistic qualities by themselves are quite karmic in that sense. I think it's one of the dark triad, no, that some psychology researchers talk about. Jordan Peterson talks about narcissism a lot. So yeah, that I can see how that is going to take you to a karmic outcome quite quickly. But let me say something else about introverts as well. Introverts are people who are generally more isolated. Yeah, they close themselves more. And if we think in the comparison between competition or collaboration, which of both are going to take us more towards isolation? I would say competition. Because if we look at animals, let's say animals which compete, it would be something like Komodo dragons, which they don't want to share their space. They have their own territory and they want to fight for that territory, and they are proudly holding that space. Or lions, this is my space, don't enter, and they will urinate in the corners or in the trees to make sure that others don't come in, because that's their space, and that takes you towards isolation. I'm not sure that they are particularly introverts, but introversion brings towards isolation. And this kind of behavior, competitive behavior, brings us towards isolation. You can see lions individually, like living more isolated by themselves, or Komodo dragons as well, no? While if we look at groups of animals like wolves, they live in families and packs, yeah, and they are very, very cooperative within that community, no? Let's say. So introversion brings us towards isolation. I mean, I can see them in both sides. I can see the narcissist who exploits others for the benefit of him or herself, and therefore, trying to be the first one, the number one. And I can see a narcissist collaborating with a group of people to show that they are the best, to get the recognition or the appreciation and the love from the community, to feel like they are beautiful, no? So they will pretend to do this just to be, for their beauty, let's say, no? To be appreciated, no? To be loved, let's say. Yeah. So, and I can see the introverts within the collaboration just being introverted, not wanting conflict, so they stay within their group and they just collaborate because they don't want any conflict. But also, I see the competitor who is number one, and they are so high in the number one that it's difficult for them to relate to others as equals, so they end up isolating themselves and being very introverted, and then they go and they talk to their business partners, but they don't feel like they are in the same community. They feel like they are below them. So they are very much within themselves. And I can imagine some big business innovators who were probably quite introvert as well. So I think introversion and I may be wrong. I'm just here. We are just speculating and just philosophizing. But I feel like there's probably introverts and narcissists in both sides, probably. Let's keep throwing ideas back and forth. Let me go into the advantages of collaboration, which are quite obvious, but let's just name a few as well. I did 3 here, so we can do 3 more here. For collaboration, we would have, well, obviously, if you are collaborating within a group, then this goes towards the success of the group. So yeah, it's good for the group. If you all collaborate, it's going to be helpful for the group as an entity. Yeah, rather than me as an individual, this would be towards me as an individual. Therefore, that's why self-improvement. This would be the goodness of the group. So it's for, let's say, for the Sangat consciousness. So in the dharmic side of the collaboration, it would be Sangat consciousness. Yeah, thinking for others and helping each other, helping those who need help, helping those who cannot help themselves. So it's bringing everyone to the same level, bringing some stability, social stability. Can you think of another? Social stability. In competition, you are fighting the efficiency, the lowering the costs. I remember Oliver was saying, you said like a lower cost, yeah? That is also very much connected to resources. There's a number of resources that are limited, and whoever has access to them, they will have a better position to compete. But if we are collaborating, we can share resources. So resource sharing. While here is like fighting for resources. And resources is one of the main conflicts that we find in the world. When we are looking at politically different countries fighting for the resources, whether it was petrol or coal or diamonds or gold or whatever they are fighting for, that's quite a common point of conflict between different countries. Oliver says, I think it maximizes about 3 people. Meditating is normally better than just one. Yeah, exactly. So there is something in the aura of the group, that is going to bring you. There is something we say in Kundalini. We say, when you are meditating in a group, you are meditating to the level of the one who is higher. And so, if today we get together, the 3 of us, with Oliver and Infinite Stories, and we meditate, and today I'm not so well, but maybe Oliver is stronger, then my meditation will have the power of Oliver's meditation. And maybe tomorrow is not Oliver, maybe it's Infinite Stories, maybe she will or he will be with a stronger power, and then that's we are going to go to that level. And maybe the next day will be me, so maybe you will go to my level. So yeah, power in numbers, yeah? A team is greater than the sum of its parts, definitely. Good. So that's the Sangat concept, yeah? In the Sangat consciousness, our consciousness is elevated. That's why we say Dharma, Sangat, Guru. So the Sangat is bringing us from our Dharmic position towards Guru, yeah? We apply our Dharma to go through the Sangat towards the Guru. So that's very good. Let's talk about the disadvantages as well. Yeah? I think it could be useful. Let's do it in another color. Light blue. So the disadvantages of competition, what can we say here? Well, I mentioned the resource sharing. This would be resource wastage. Wastage? 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 I'm not sure about the word. But yeah. Yeah, in our fight to get to the top, we may waste resources. Yeah. Hope it makes sense. There is you want to get to the top now. Yeah, you don't look in the future of our relationships. This is the thing about Prisoner's Dilemma played once or playing many times. When we play it only once, we care about the short term. Short term, I benefit more if I defect, if I betray you. If you look at long term and we need to build a certain reputation to work with each other, then it's better to collaborate. So this disadvantage is short term focus. Isn't it? It can wipe out business or maybe even people. The what can wipe out the business? The resource wastage or the short-term focus or something else we said in the chat? Oliver, I'm not sure what you are referring to which point you're referring. But if this is social stability in the collaboration, competition, it's the opposite, isn't it? Social inequality. Because if the focus is in getting to be the best, then that makes the gap between the top and the bottom even worse. Yeah. Competition has a higher human cost. Maybe competition can wipe out businesses or maybe even people. Oh yes. Yeah, absolutely. So how can we write down? Yeah, I mean, you can see that. I could see that very clearly with the COVID situation, that small businesses, how many? I mean, you would go into the city and you would see in the streets 40 to 60% of the businesses closed, small businesses. And the bigger businesses like big shopping centers, big shops, big names, big brands in the shopping centers, they would survive because they have a greater margin for error, let's say, And so yeah, this is bad for small businesses, yeah. So it comes back into the social inequality point. It goes, against the little ones, let's say, Against the little one, let's say. The disadvantage of competition, yeah. And it can get, and the more it goes on, the worse it gets. Like this gap between the rich and the poor, it's getting more and more and more and more. If nothing happens, it just keeps increasing. We cannot see a clear way on how this can change right now. I think there's probably many more disadvantages to this competition. But let's, for the sake of completion, let's find a few disadvantages to collaboration. Collaborate. How is collaborating disadvantage? Well, I remember. Let's call this free riding. I remember living in the UK, and a friend was telling me, "Look, I don't have to work because I applied for social help, and they give me money every week." And he had bought a flat with his money. He paid the first installment, but then he couldn't pay all the others. And because he didn't have a job, rather than going to the social flats, there were some flats for people who had needs. This social security system in the UK, they were paying him for his flat, and he was staying in his house, and they were still paying him money every week. And he was a PhD, so the kind of work that he could apply to is very narrow because he was a very specialized in an area. So he would go every week and have to sign on Monday a paper. And they would say, well, we didn't find a job for you because you are so specialized with a PhD and with such a specific topic. We cannot just tell you, go to the supermarket and be a cashier. So they wouldn't give him find a job. Every 6 months or 8 months, he would find an interview, but he would just go through the interview. And he was just free riding. I don't think he was very proud of that. And after a few years, I remember he actually got a job, and he said, well, I feel better paying my own bills. But to me, and to him as well, it was quite shocking that this system exists. And he said, well, why not exploit it for a while? Because I've been paying taxes. I'll pay taxes for the rest of my life. And for now, I'm benefiting. So what you do, I think it's a little bit, it was egocentric at that point. He was like selfish, let's say, selfish at that point. But I totally get where he was coming from, and he himself felt better afterwards when he got a job. But yeah, we call it job seekers allowance in the UK. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was shocked to see that it works in that way. It's quite strange, but he was basically eternally free riding, right? So I think, that's based on an established system of collaboration that doesn't check for this kind of situation. So free riding is one thing. What else? Collaboration. We have a group of trainers in Kundalini Yoga. Now we are trying to make a decision on how to operate from now. And the whole group is very collaborative. And one thing I notice is when more people collaborate, the process just becomes very, very slow. The process of decision making, yeah? Because you want to make sure everybody is included, and everybody is listened to, and everybody is considered, and everybody's voice is incorporated into the decision of everyone, and let's make sure that everybody is happy with it. So you're just very slowly trying to find an agreement. Yeah, it's very hard to find agreement when there is no clearly one leader, yeah, who is going to take responsibility for that decision. I remember reading something, I cannot remember exactly how it goes, but it was something like this. Responsibility without autonomy, it's cruel to the individual. Yeah? If you're in a company and they put a lot of responsibility on you, but they don't give you the autonomy, that's cruel to you, because it's like all this heavy weight on top, but you cannot do really what you want to do in order to alleviate that pressure or to improve things. So responsibility without autonomy, it's cruel to the individual. Autonomy without responsibility, it's cruel to the group. So if you are one person in the group, you just give it autonomy, and then they do what they want and they have no accountability, that's cruel to the group. So I would say that just like integrity was necessary in the Dharmic concept of competition, I would say that responsibility would be also equally necessary in the Dharmic, in the Sangat consciousness. responsibility. Sorry for my writing. It's becoming smaller and smaller in the page, but, well, you are listening, so you can get it. What else? Other disadvantage of being in collaboration. Well, this very same idea that we are all in a group and we try to make sure that everybody is happy with the decisions. This creates this other concept, this group thing. Group think? You know, the concept that everybody has to agree in some way, and then a dissenting opinion will be suppressed in a way because it's not part of the group, and we all go together as a group, and we all think the same. No, we all think the same, right? Oh, yes, you agree, right? Yeah, we think the same. So it's kind of making people all agree, and then it's difficult to go against everyone, especially a large group. Yeah, probably better for a narcissist to lead a cooperative group. Yeah, I'm thinking probably. And probably that's why I think there is a lot of narcissism in the liberal world, and especially I live in the world of yoga, yeah, and you can find a lot of people playing with this idea that they pretend, yeah, they are pretending to be so holy and so wonderful and so beautiful, and it's a form of manipulation to get their own egos high as well, yeah. You can see it also in TikTok and Instagram and all these places, yeah. They are all liking each other's pictures and all praising each other, how beautiful everybody is, and you are, that's feeding the narcissist aspect. And which is also making me think, you remember when I mentioned about the prisoner's dilemma, it works well when you know the reputation of the other? The moment we have expanded our cultural background so much because of social media, we came out of the design. Natural selection created us the way we are because we are designed to operate in tribes of up to 50 people, more or less. So the brain is especially designed to work in that way. The moment we go into social media, where most of the comments are anonymous and you don't know who you are talking to, and everybody pretends to be their highest self, that also creates that anonymity means no reputation. No reputation means no collaboration. So that's another aspect that is tough, yeah? I have a few messages here. Inefficiency because there is no incentive to improve, and wasted resources. Yeah, inefficiency because there is no incentive to improve. All right, yes, good. Inefficiency. Interesting, eh? Because we are finding here the opposite of here, yeah? And so inefficiency as the opposition of the advantage of efficiency in competition, just like social stability as the advantage of collaboration, the opposite is social inequality as the disadvantage of competition, yeah? It's not a coincidence, yeah? It's obvious. Communism is an example of collaboration gone wrong. Yeah. Yeah, and wasted resources. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I can see in the collaboration also in trying to include everyone's voices when, if you have a very small, loud minority, when their own opinions and their own thoughts, and you have to be inclusive and respectful for them. Okay, yeah, everybody should feel included, but then if I have to cater for them, isn't that also cruel to the group? When you are catering for 1% of the population that is crying something really loud, and that could happen very quickly also in collaboration environments. So that would be a karmic expression of that as well. So we will see that if this was the dharmic, maybe I should do this. The karmic expression as well. Let's say the loud minority, which it could end up driving the decision making of the whole group because everybody wants to keep everyone happy. I see this a lot in the yoga world. Somebody says something nasty, something that is offensive, and somebody, oh, thank you very much for your opinion. Your opinion is very valuable, very important because, you point out something interesting. I'm gonna, oh, come on. They are offensive or they said something nasty. I'm not gonna be so kind and helpful. And some things need to be confronted, right? So I think this concept, of the loud minority would be something karmic within the collaborative environment. There's also, let's not just say that it's also bad karma. There's also good karma as well. Yeah. By finding social stability, sharing the resources, helping for everybody to have success, that's good karma as well. And, we look to avoid karma in general, but that includes also good karma. So let's take this into account. Helping others creates good karma. So that's a point to consider. And then on the other side, we have the karmic expression of competition. That would be just, selfishness, I would guess, no? Selfishness. Everything that is looking towards my self-improvement without integrity, like being the best but not caring about the rest, that's just selfishness. That's ego-driven behavior. Like the ego is driving the cart, the car, yeah, and that's gonna be karmic, for sure. So this is the karmic side, yeah. This is the dharmic side. How is it looking? This is very true, says Oliver. Yeah, infinite love in collaboration, not so much in competition. Yeah. So let me add love to the dharmic side. Yes, I'm thinking also about initiative, self-improvement, initiative. The concept of the leader that you were talking about, I think that comes from the dharmic side of competition. And I think that's self-initiating, an initiative. Don't wait for others to do things for you. Like you see some problem, you go and help. Yeah, and that comes from the competitive mindset, yeah, of let's be the best. And if something needs done, okay, because I've been fighting to be the best in noticing what was wrong, then I am in the best position to use my resources, which I gathered through the competition, to help and to, move things forward. And so I self-initiate to go and deal with the situation. I don't wait for somebody else to do it. I don't wait for the group to decide that it has to be fixed. I go and do it. So that's also helpful, yeah? So that would be the dharmic side of the competition. But yes, the dharmic side of the collaboration is loving everyone and just sharing in the Sangat and being in the heart space. And no matter what happens, coming back to the heart. And I would say probably the forgiveness comes from here as well. Being able to forgive, which is the beginning of this whole conversation, isn't it? Can we forgive somebody who has betrayed us so that we can, in the future, maybe collaborate again? So, love in collaboration. Interesting idea, eh? How a little game brings a whole concept, and when we explore it in humans and animals and plants, then we can find that there is actually advantages and disadvantages in both. And there is karma and dharma in both. That the path forward is not just to collaborate, not just to compete, but there has to be a balance between both. The other big thing to consider possibly is gratitude. Yes. Attitude of gratitude, we always say. Yeah, in yoga, that's the right attitude. You can either go from selfishness or you can go from gratitude. Yeah. That would be in the dharmic side of the collaboration, I would say. Probably here next to love, yeah? Let's put it on. Nice. Well, I'm happy the way this went. Thank you for helping me do these reflections and meditations upon these concepts. I think it's key to consider this when we are thinking about conflicts like Israel and Palestine, or here so close in Europe, Ukraine and Russia, and the US involvement in every one of these conflicts, in both of them. I think we need to consider what's going to help us move forward, because there is a reputation, there is a history. This is not a one-time event, prisoner's dilemma. This is something that has been recurring for many years, and we can bring this to our lives as well and think about us with our partners, our ex-partners, our friends, our enemies, and how can we face them? How can we approach them? Are we going to collaborate? Are we going to compete? So now, I think after doing this reflection, we realize competition is not wrong and collaboration is not right. Nothing is right or wrong. Yeah, there has to be a both sides to everything, and there's always a karmic and a dharmic. And we need to be mindful when we take a particular approach that we don't fall into the karmic side of it. I was thinking also about how is this future going to be with AI? Because this all originates from the video I did on AI. But how are we going to be in relationship to a future intelligent AI, AGI? Yeah? How are we going to deal with that? Are we going to compete, or are we going to collaborate with AGI? And are we going to be sharing resources? Yeah? Or is there going to be a natural selection between humans and AI? It's kind of scary, but this is like one of the most important things that are going to happen in the near future, and the very near future. And what's going to happen between us and AI? Competition, collaboration. How are we going to face that? How can we create the circumstances so that AI is going to be willing to collaborate with us? Yeah? And maybe complement us in the things that we cannot do, in efficiency and selection and innovation in some areas. And can it bring this aspect in the areas that we need without being against us? I think that's key to the future. As the global consciousness awakes and the frequency rises, things will change, I believe. Yes, we can always pray for that. Waheguru, I think it was great. We got to a good point. It was a good explanation. Thank you very much. I enjoy these brainstormings on different concepts. And it certainly brings me a little bit closer to understanding relationship with others. So thank you very much. We will stop the conversation here today. And next week we will have a session on the numbers, and then another open session, which I don't know what will it be. But thank you very much, everyone who was watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, just consider subscribing or liking this video. Liking helps a lot for YouTube and the competition in YouTube to be seen by others when so many videos appear every day and everybody, the YouTube algorithm makes the selection. So there's a fierce competition for who is being selected to show the video to others. So if you like it, it's going to help. So thank you for that. Fascinating and insightful. Thank you. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Infinite Stories, for not just for being here, but for interacting with me. It certainly helps me to process what I'm thinking, and also to, we came out with something nice, I think. It's good. So that's also on you. Thank you very much. Until next time, Satnam.